All right, welcome everyone to a live podcast recording of the Iron Ring with hosts from Women in Engineering. We are streaming on YouTube live from Concordia University's fourth space, which is located on unceded Indigenous lands in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. Here at fourth space, we collaborate with our community members to activate the research projects and ongoing conversations across the university by co-creating daily activities. So it's our pleasure to welcome WIE back in today for this live podcast conversation with their special guest who will be introduced shortly. Just a quick note of engagement. If you're joining us via Zoom, please feel free to jump in with any questions and comments towards the end by lifting a hand and we'll call on you. All right, over to you.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Iron Ring. I'm your host, Amelia.
I'm Emily.
And today we also have Olivia, a civil engineering student. So on this episode of The Iron Ring, we have Azadeh Dastmalchi. She's the co-founder of Vital Tracer, a company that focuses on technology that can help prevent cardiovascular diseases through monitoring and tracking of symptoms or signs. Also, before we begin, I would just like to thank once again the Fourth Space for allowing us to film this podcast over here. Check them out, please. They have a bunch of events happening. So before we begin, we just want to get to know you a little bit. So you've obtained a bachelor's in biomedical engineering, a master in medical biophysics, a second master in biomedical and medical engineering, and are currently a PhD candidate in biomedical and medical engineering, right?
Right. So it's all actually biomedical engineering.
All of them.
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. So we wanted to know kind of what inspired you to follow this path. And did you know that this is kind of where you were going to go when you were younger?
It started when I was 7 years old. My brother asked me that what I want to be in future, and I said, scientist. And I always had Edison as my role model. And I always wanted to do, innovate some things that is really useful for everyone and make their life much more easier, like a lamp, like a power, some things like that. And then I was always curious and energetic. So it goes back when I was grade 10, we're supposed to decide what we want to do in terms of college and universities. And I asked my friends, families, and a friend of mine said that there is a new major that calls biomedical engineering, that they do design and development of new medical devices. It was like, awesome, I like that. Let's go and do a study. So we graduated from high school, goes to the university in United Arab Emirates. I grown up there. And so I studied biomedical engineering. We developed as a part of the different projects that we had, different medical devices. Then we moved for my master and then PhD in Ottawa University, biomedical engineering. And when I started my master at the very same year, 2010, my dad diagnosed with a high blood pressure, and he doesn't really like the cuff device, which goes around the arm, inflate and deflate, and he has to be tethered to the device. So he really doesn't like it. So I would start to find some things like more in terms of wearables, like a watch, and I couldn't find it. At the same time I start my master, I needed like a thesis topic. So I come with a new blood pressure device without cuff, actually.
Was it like a watch or?
So I proposed 10 times each 6 months. So at the end, we come up with the optical sensor and AI technology. And then the optical sensors came as a watch, like the same as Apple Watch. But it wasn't Apple Watch. There wasn't any smartwatch at that time.
Okay.
And so we started with the design of the watch, but right now as a medical device, right now we are working on a patch on a chest. Okay. So no longer watch, because the wrist is moving very fast. So it has lots of errors, but the chest for the patient has a less movement.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. It's really cool that you're studying or you're working on all of that too, because I'm sure a lot of people have family who has some type of, someone in their family has something, an issue with
illness,
with their cardio and their heart health. So I think this is a really important thing to at least help, like you don't want to have to, you're right, carry anything super baggy on your arms or have something that's constantly like a little bag you have to carry around. So that's really cool that you're doing that.
Thank you.
So you co-founded Vital Tracer back in 2016.
Right.
Can you explain the initiative of this startup and what inspired you to co-found this company?
So the main reason was my dad's problem, hypertension, and at the same time, I need a thesis topic.
Okay.
So that's really important. So I started working on this subject, which was pretty new in 2010. So, and then in 2014, it took like 4 years, not normal to the master, but it took a much more time to finish it, wrap it up. So in 2014, I finished my master and had a proof of concept that this technology is really working. And then still,
it was a long process, right, to get there?
Exactly. And then at the same time, after that, I started my PhD, the same project to put it in the reality. And in 2016, when we finished all the part of the research, then we goes to start doing a real business. So then we start to go in different accelerators and incubators to learn about what is entrepreneurship, how we should convert academic research to the real project. And then we learn slowly, step by step. We took a baby step.
Very interesting. Did you face any challenges starting Vital Tracer?
Oh, every second.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So when the first thing when we started the project, like a proof of concept was something really new. So we had to try I have to try lots of different, I read like 500 papers to come up with the design. Before that, like I said, and like 6 different proposals that this is gonna work, this is gonna work, this is gonna work. And each time it's like fail. So you have to try. So I really learned resilient by every single DNA in my blood.
That's research, right?
Yeah.
That's pure research.
And then when we finalized everything in research, then we had the time to learn about a business, because before that we were a bunch of PhD nerd students in engineering. So we have to learn what's the business plan, business canvas, like SAM, PAM, SAM, SOM, and all those informations, how to pitch, how to go so on more and more. And
Did you reach out to like business students to help you with that?
At the very, in 2015 and 2016, I started my PhD at U Ottawa, and they had the Faculty of Engineering, they start with the entrepreneurship workshops, and then we have like a women network in engineering, and like a different student in different levels gather together to learn and implement. So they all choose a Vital Tracer, and we start learning together to build it. So
cool, yeah.
We never use like ask any business student, but all the bunch of volunteer students start to learning together and build something.
Okay, so this was offered then at U Ottawa, like to have that opportunity kind of to talk to people, because I was gonna say, when you're doing a PhD, I'm sure, we're still bachelor students, so it's still different, but the amount of time that must have taken, then you have to go on top of that and look into the business side. So it must have consumed a lot of your time for all that.
It was, but at the same time with our volunteer team in engineering, we had people with the first year and second year of undergrad engineering, and we have a master people as well, master students and PhD. So we have all the engineering students in any level could enter to those networking hubs considering herself as a female, and then be together in the workshops and learn about it and take courses.
That's awesome. At least you have a group of like women who understand too, of course, because I'm sure in engineering, again, we've spoken about this, it's really the core of our society, talking about, trying to get women to join into this program and to start. So to have, a group of women who understand the struggles and being able to work together is, I think, super, super nice and important to have. So that's really nice. And did you have any kind of competition with like people, like men in the programs who are trying to either tear you guys down with your ideas, and how did that work?
Yeah, definitely. It's really normal-ish. It shouldn't be, but it is. Yeah, for when I proposed my last proposal, it was really good enough that one of my ex-supervisors said that this is a really good idea. Let's bring some expert in cardiovascular medical doctor. And then the guy was a head of hypertension in one hospital, and he was senior. And but when I start saying that, yeah, using optical sensor and AI, that was not fit on his age, like 80-ish.
Okay.
So it was like, this is not gonna work, and walk away in middle of my pitch.
Wow.
So that, but it's very understandable. I cried that day and the whole week. And then one of my colleagues said that, you know what, I know that you're sad, but try to be understand. They hardly can turn on and off the computer. And you talk about artificial intelligence, come on, what do you expect?
It's a good point.
And the blood pressure device is working for more than 1 century.
Yeah.
Why we want to push medical doctors and nurses to use a new technology?
Great.
I think it's a big barrier in general with a lot of the doctors who have been in the industry for a very long time, because of course, if it works, like you said, why change it? But I think that at least with all, the young people going into the medical field or into the engineering field, things are adapting very, very quickly, right? So you have to kind of be on top of everything and be able to follow everything advancing. So I think it must have been hard for you to hear like, no, this is not going to work. But at the same time, at least that everything's changing and everything's moving forward. So.
And thanks to COVID changed everything. Now in the healthcare, they are thinking about digital health and using wearable technology for patient remote monitoring. And now it's everything's like with us. Before that, lots of things against us. And
True.
We were like two co-founders. We both females. We have 2 more co-founders. Males, but as a face of company, we are 2 female.
So you're 4.
Yeah, 2 female, and we are not that much well mature in a medical device area, which is usually white males and well mature, like a 60-ish. So it's not really easy to do like a fundraising. Still, we are struggle, but we learn a lot.
I think that's one of like the positive aspects of COVID. Like it forced you to learn all this new technology, especially for like the older generations.
Oh yeah. Well, even for us in school, adapting to Zoom classes. I don't know if you were in CEGEP when you were doing that.
Yeah, I started in CEGEP.
So I mean, even for me, I started university and it was 2 months in person and online. So that was really rough. And I knew that a lot of the teachers who had been at Concordia for a while really struggled trying to, especially engage the students online too, but just switching to COVID and going to Zoom and trying to learn all of that, even for us, like sometimes it takes obviously we can probably learn a bit faster, but when you have your professor who wants to, teach a class, who has to take at least a good 20 minutes at the beginning of the class to set up the class,
right.
And then you lose that time in teaching, and it was definitely a bit messy at the beginning. So at least, that's a positive that you can take from, everyone kind of had no choice but to learn.
Right.
Yeah, especially the older generations.
Oh yeah.
How can you say like your company has changed from 2016 to now?
Oh, a lot. First of all, we all learn a lot. We change a lot, but like it was just I remember that when we went to the X1 McGill accelerators, the guy was really polite and really helped us, one of our mentors, and he said that, your PowerPoint presentation looks like a high school project, which is totally correct. And then but he teach us how to go to the next level of pitch, which is totally makes us from like a bunch of nerds, engineering females do a project, science project, and then goes to the business level as a startups. We learn, and then thanks to every single mentors and accelerators and incubators that accept us.
And we know that like technology has changed so much from 2016 to 2020. 2022 now.
God.
So how is this vital tracer changed?
We pivoted a couple of times, actually, in terms of we changed the ideas that it was like only solving a blood pressure, then become that, you know what, with the same sensor and same hardware, we can not only measuring blood pressure, but oxygen saturation as well. And the same with not changing anything, we could do this and that and that. So it's like a all vital signs. And then we had like different models, and it was starting with the watch, but then we find that, you know what, when we tested on a feasible study on like a geriatric center, we find that it's not possible with the watch because patients moving their wrist too often. But as a patch, it's more steady state positions, and actually medical doctors don't accept the watch. They see it as a gadget still, but they can accept chest patches like a stick.
Maybe because it could be like restricting too.
Well, now I'm someone who has an Apple Watch, so it's like I
Watch,
see that it monitors my heart sometimes, my at least if it's racing or not. But I didn't think about the fact that it is if I'm writing, if I'm doing anything, like you're right that it's not stuck and reading everything accurately. So it's a good idea to have something that you're right that it's not gonna move but it's cool and it's actually accepted. I didn't know that this wouldn't be technically kind of accepted.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
We'd like to know like how it works a bit better. So like how is it different from an Apple Watch or like a Fitbit?
Yeah. So in terms of the gadgets like Apple, Fitbit, Samsung, they are for the wellness. For Apple Watch specifically, they have a one clearance for one signal, which is ECG. So the only clearance that they have, they can detect irregular heartbeat. That's it, nothing else. Even for their heart rate or oxygen saturation, they mentioned that they don't have a FDA clearance yet. So it's not as accurate as medical device. So you can use it for wellness, but not as a good documentations that you can bring to your medical doctor and say that this is what happened to me. But ours, we are going to test the accuracy of our result at the ICU level. So it's a very accurate devices to see, and then Health Canada and FDA is going to review it to see that if they accept it as same as medical device. And also the target market, we are going to sell to hospitals. So hospital is responsible to pay us. And as a user, medical doctors and nurses going to be the person who's going to interact. So the patient is just, the patients are, because they are more children that they cannot talk, or they are very old people, it's geriatric, that they cannot also communicate clearly. So we don't,
That's smart.
Yeah, we don't expect them to say exactly what's wrong, but we buy all-in-one technology instead of one device, 5 devices in one, wireless, doing all the interpolations.
So as of right now, if someone went in with like a form from their vital tracer indicating like their health like indications, the doctor wouldn't be able to say, okay, this is valid information just yet. So the device is not in the market yet. It's on a clinical trial stage. We are testing in a hospital setting on a real patient in a real scenario. After that, it needed like a year to go to FDA and Health Canada to review all the documentation and give us the permission, clearance. And then we are gonna able to go in a real market and sell it. And is your plan for it to be covered by Medicare? Yes, of course. Yeah, we want to be as a medical device selling to hospitals, Medicare, all the reimbursement codes gonna be available to cover by insurances, private or public. And it'll also be like open to the public. So like, let's say I can go in if I don't have like a medical issue and buy one. That's a good point. It's gonna be on long term. But in a short term, right now, it's going to be used only by a healthcare provider in a patient setting. So whether the patient sent to home, but they are gonna monitor them from home. So they call it hospitalist home or remote patient monitoring,
or they are in hospitals in like a general floor or observation unit, and nurse need to check them all the time. So instead of the nurse comes all the time, it's gonna save lots of time and energy from nurses. They can see all in one dashboard.
Yeah.
And get enough abnormality, it can alert to the nurse to go if necessary.
Okay, that's wow. So that's a really good idea too, because I'm sure a lot of people don't want to obviously spend all their time also in hospitals, and to be able to have still the health, the care that they can get from different places is super important. So again, your goal is really to target obviously the population that cannot really express themselves. Of course, children will be the type to probably not say everything that they're feeling, and I'm sure, of course, the older population as well. And then with this, the whole process with the FDA must take very long time as well.
Yeah.
But is your goal for the company to grow beyond Canada? Do you want it to be like a global?
Yes, of course, for sure. We want to save people as much as possible, and also save nurses time and energy that they can concentrate on what exactly matter.
Okay.
And we want also, specifically for elderly, we want, one of our mission is to make their life healthier and living independent, and peace of mind for the caregiver as well at the same time.
Of course, I think it's obviously super important for the family around, and for, again, besides themselves, also their personal health, at least the people taking care of them. I'm sure, as you know, we all have our grandparents as well, and you know, as they age, things become harder and harder. So I think it's really awesome that you have a target at least with them as well, and of course kids, because you know, you never know who will have heart issues or health problems in the future as well. So that's really awesome. But wow, honestly, the whole process, it's super cool that you get to go through all of this. And I know, of course, it's probably going to take you, like you said, a few more years until you'll be able to integrate them more into hospitals and such. But it's a really cool company that you have. And I think for us, as you know, young students who don't necessarily know like the kind of paths, it's nice to hear different stories from women who, you know, are pushing boundaries, and of course the experiences of, you know, sometimes you'll have people walk out on meetings, and you know, to not discourage you and to keep pushing, of course, resilience, of course.
Yeah, and like after hearing all your like challenges you had and all the successes you've had and everything you've had to face, like on behalf of the soon-to-be entrepreneurs or engineers, we want to know if you have any advice for young people. Like, what would you say based on your experience?
Read the book by Simon Sinek, I think, Find Your Why, and find what is you're really passionate about, and
Write that down.
And follow your passion, because life is very short, and you are gonna live one time only. Try to enjoy while you are helping others.
Okay. And you know, of course, being a student who've gone through, like, you've been in school, you went through the whole process. So, you know, people who are, or young students who are looking to do that as well, I know it's very time consuming, and I'm sure some people may get discouraged by the amount of time that it could take, but do you have any advice for that as well? You know, people who, like, personally, I don't know if I'm gonna follow into master's PhD level, but but you know, for that's what I like to hear from different opinions. We had a guest who was saying, you know, you have to make sure that you're passionate about what you're doing to be able to follow out. Because again, if you're not passionate and you're in school for the next 10 years and you hate everything that you're doing, you're just not going to be happy.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
So it's really great. But
do you think you could have founded this company without having done a master's?
No,
and done
definitely
research?
not.
Okay.
No, I need to confess that the only reason that this company is here, because I did my master and then with my PhD, because this is a deep technology startup. It is impossible without doing that. And I have a personal story, like my dad's story, that I really want to help parents to do it. But if I want to recommend anyone, male or female, doesn't matter, don't go on medical device hardware.
Okay.
That's
Why?
the hardest major, I don't know, hardest challenge that you can have, like having a hardware and software with the medical. You have to go through lots of challenges, including all the regulatories. So it's really, really, really hard.
I think because you're touching upon so many facets of science, of different types of science.
Sure.
So it's a lot of work.
Yeah, no, the heart, especially you have everything that you're looking at, of course, but like you said, everything is adapting now. So you kind of have to adapt with the time and with, you know, the science that is constantly evolving.
Right.
So I'm sure it is hard, but I think we also do need people to really go and do that.
Yes,
Focus,
definitely we need a master and PhD students, but if you find your passion, even if you study the whole engineering and find your passion like photography, and you find that this is what you really want to do, do it.
I think it's good advice. That's the thing, a lot of people get also pressured by, you know, society and people around them that you have to become a doctor, you have to become, you know, like a lawyer, an engineer, like all these very high positions, and it's not realistic for everybody. That, you know, everyone has their strengths. I know that I wouldn't be able to do, you know, the photography or to do history or to do any of those types of classes, but I'm good at what I'm doing and I'm happy doing what I'm doing also. So I think it's a good point that if you really are miserable in what you're doing, then don't continue doing it. Find something that you're happy about, you know.
Or if you're good but you're suffering, if like you suffer while you are studying, you shouldn't really go to master and PhD. I love to study. I sleep with my articles, reading articles and books on my bed, and I wake up with the same passion. And so I'm kind of nerdish who wants to study until the end of the PhD. And by the way, I'm coming with the background of Middle East parents that they want all the children to have a PhD. So it's like, that's one of my dad's like, you should go and study PhD. It's like, yes, sir, I will do that for you, just for you, to make you happy. But when I'm done with my master, I was super excited with what I'm doing it. And with my supervisor, I love my supervisor at U Ottawa, and he was helping us a lot in any type. And he's really kind and very understandable in terms of human being. So it was like, and he offered me that, do you want to continue PhD? Yeah, it's a really good project, my project. And I know the university, I almost done with lots of the courses. I didn't have that much course. It was like, yeah, why not?
So are you still continuing your PhD? Did you complete it?
I just submit my thesis proposal an hour ago.
Congratulations.
An hour ago, it's like done.
Just an hour ago?
Yeah.
No way. So you feel really good right now?
Not really. Because they need to read, the examiner need to read, and I have still the defense.
Okay, you have the defense.
Yeah.
Okay.
But usually, like you usually pass the defense, right?
Yeah.
Because your idea is there
yeah.
and your research is there to back it up.
Wow. I'm thinking just a few hours, like you're just like, where, and then you're coming here.
That's
to come
crazy.
It's really cool though that you're able to at least, wait, so was it hard to balance also your PhD with this company, or because they work together, it was okay to do it all at the same time?
It was really hard, but I love to like work kind of workaholic-ish. So I love to like 8 hours work and then 5 hours study and then a couple of things.
That's impressive.
It was like, I love it. That's why it's like, if you love it, yeah, of course, do it. But this is not something that I definitely recommend the rest of the people.
Yeah, I think it really depends every individual person.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be able to stay, like do school or study and then like right afterwards work and then study at the same time for, it's like very
Focus
long
for
days.
that
Like,
long,
yeah, you have like 15-hour
brain
days
power.
of just like working and doing like stuff like that, which is super impressive. But again, if you didn't like it, you wouldn't be doing it.
That's right.
So at least that's still super impressive. Was your degree or your PhD and your master's, was it done online as well? Like, or were you doing it from Montreal or from Ottawa?
Yeah, so in my master was, I graduated in 2014 or January 2015. So it was in person.
Okay.
And then we moved to Montreal in 2017, I believe. So for that time, I almost done with all the courses, and it was just a thesis. So that's the rest was a long distance.
Okay.
Sometimes go back and forth if it's necessary once a month or so.
And why did you want to come to Montreal? Is it better for what you're doing right now? Is it a better hub for that, or is it?
That's a really good question, actually. The reason that we moved because my husband started his master and then PhD at McGill University.
Okay.
But when I came here, I started going to different accelerators and incubators with the Concordia University, District 3. And actually, I find that comparing Ontario with the Quebec, Quebec government is super supportive in terms of financial, and I love the ecosystem in here, startup ecosystem. It's very diverse, super supportive for women, minority groups, not in terms of only financial, but for any type, any expat. It is the best. We check the rest of the provinces. Quebec is the best, and I'm super happy.
Proud.
That's good to hear, because I know that obviously a lot of people, when you live in Quebec, sometimes you don't realize all these like benefits that we have. You know, we grew up here. Well, at least I grew up here, and I know exactly that. Like, I don't think about all these things, but as someone who comes from that background, you know, who's able to be like, okay, they support me as someone who's not, you know, from here, or someone who has just not lived through and who can help support me in, again, finances, but also, you know, your background and everything. I think that's incredibly important. So that's really nice to know about Quebec, that they do this. Honestly. How is it with the French here? Do you?
Actually, that's what I said. It's not that much bad that it's in news.
Okay.
So I'm unfortunately still in a learning phase of my French.
It's hard.
Yeah, and nor my co-founder Zara is also not French speaking. And we went to different competitions that the rules was speaking in French. I was like, apologize and ask them really kind, and they were really kind to accept it.
Okay.
And even in terms of financial, again, government accepted that we are Anglophone and not Francophone.
Wow.
And
Surprised.
yeah, it's not as that much as bad that is in news. So another recommendations for the youth. Don't read news. There is no good news. It's always bad news, and it's toxic. You shouldn't believe any kind of news. Don't read news unless that it's your like a major. Like I read the only news relevant to my topic and my study and my work, because I have a hope that I can change it. The rest of the news are toxic for me because it's gonna make my brain busy and make me sad and down. I can't concentrate on what is really matter or what is I really can change it and improve it. So, and also close all your social media unless LinkedIn. Seriously.
What's LinkedIn?
Good luck asking all the students to check out their social medias, I find. But you're right, it's incredibly toxic. Like,
incredibly.
It's always negative, and it's like there's nothing for you to do. Like you said, like at least you can do something about what you're listening to, but otherwise it's just like negativity that you're hearing, and it's definitely not making you any better person.
You're right, you have no control over a lot of the things that are said.
And 99% it's fake.
Too.
Even Instagram, they post all the fancy pictures. They are all either edited or they're just a snapshot of that moment. You don't know that like his or her disaster life. Right?
So true.
So it makes you like everyone's happy, travel, in a hot weather, why I'm here in the middle of 6 months winter, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, just close it. It's just
that's so true though. That's the thing that I think that at least people in our generation have to realize that, you know, you look on your Instagram, you look on every app.
TikTok.
Oh my God, don't get me started about TikTok. I spend too much time on there. It's really bad. I can't stop. It's addicting. But see, that's what they do. They target the people.
Audience.
Yeah, you know, if I'm not spending time trying to study, like I'll open TikTok and then an hour later I'm like, oh my God, I need to get off of this app. Like I need to turn it off, go away from that. But even the news, I find it's like it's important to stay aware of what's happening, but also
no, you shouldn't.
Maybe not.
No, come on, you shouldn't.
At all?
No, not
Really?
at all. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's an interesting take because I hear both where it's like because it is toxic and a lot of time you can't really change.
What do you really want to know about, like, you know, about a disaster happening in climate change, energies, like Africa's people doesn't have a food or like a clean waters, and there's a lot of politicals.
Yeah.
that you definitely don't need. You know the bad things happening, and that's enough. So you need to move and act some things. Like your knowledge is enough to know about the bad things. Now it's time to concentrate and do some things really.
That's really good advice.
Yeah,
That's a really great advice. I think that's important. And I think a lot of people forget kind of, that you can do something if you are willing to put in the effort for something as well. Like you said, for you, you had someone close to you, your father, who had this issue, and that was kind of what drove you to go through this whole process and path. And so you decided, like, I want to find a solution that could help him or a bunch of other hims like they're out there, So that's really great advice, I think, at least from a student who watches the news a lot and who goes on TikTok and social media a lot. It's not good, but I'll take this advice and I'll try to limit myself a lot more.
You need a detoxic yourself. I removed all the apps, and I closed it. Like 2 months ago, I closed all my social media accounts.
Deleted the accounts.
No, I didn't delete my account. I was not that much brave. Okay, but I deleted the app on my phone, and the only account that I have is LinkedIn.
That's a good app to have.
No, not really.
I don't like that
It's toxic as well.
It is toxic.
So it's like I put a limitations on only 10 minutes if I have to go through it.
Wow.
Because it really makes me sad when I see that everyone is success and all the startups moving really good, except me, that I'm the hardest.
Most of it's exaggerated too, right? Just to make themselves look better, to get that job, or
This
like
is
get
a
that
marketing.
comment, or like
This is the digital marketing that you have to bold yourself.
yeah.
But it's like enough.
Yeah, you know what, now that you say that, I think every time I open LinkedIn, I also see, people being like, today I did this, or I started this new job, and I'm like,
How did you have the time?
New positions all the time. People's like, but I'm gonna get the new position. I don't know, maybe
that's
never.
what I'm saying. It is discouraging, and you're right, but it's like, I guess for us, it's a way to at least try to connect with people in the industries also,
Right.
which is, I think, important, because when you're a student, you have always a harder time when you don't have the resources around you. You kind of have to find them yourself, right?
100% true, but you can get the resources. Actually, I highly encourage all the students to add like if they go to any workshops and conferences, add all the peoples at the same time and send a message through the LinkedIn.
Okay.
But this is not something that you need to spend on LinkedIn an hour every single day.
Yes. Okay, yes. It's kind of just, you network, get your name out there, and then from there you can take a step back from the app until you need to communicate with them again and whatnot. So that's a good, but we've reached out to a few people through LinkedIn as well. Like for us, it's a great opportunity to try to
Get
find
good
people.
connections. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, during COVID, you have no choice except online. But before and after, it's like get out to your like comfort zone and go and meet the actual people. Go and be in like a social room and those networkings.
Yeah, I miss that a lot. So I'm happy.
District 3 in Concordia, it present like a different workshops every week that if anyone's interested to know about the entrepreneurship journey, you should definitely, and it's totally free and you're gonna love it.
So I think a lot of students would benefit from at least hearing about it, because we also with our last guest, we were saying that I think a lot of students sometimes don't take the time to go look outside of their studies, because at least at the beginning they're so focused on, I got to finish my degree, I got to do this right now, and then they don't always focus. But then once you join societies or groups that kind of have their foot in other doors, you get to really kind of expand yourself. Like I'm sure for you, it's your first year here, right? But you of course, we're looking into women in engineering, which I think is a great organization and a great society. not to be biased, but you see, like, it's, as a first year, I didn't really do that when I came here, but it also was, for me, it was during COVID.
That's true.
So
different.
it was
Like
really
the
hard.
first thing I was told when I came into Concordia, it was like join as many groups as you can, get as involved as you can, because like that's how you're gonna advance, that's how you're gonna do well.
Yeah.
You need to just get out there, I guess.
And the connections, I guess, you form even through your students. Like you never know, one day this person might be incredibly famous or successful or something, and it's like if you have at least a good relationship with these people, like if we're engineers and we want to work with somebody else or another company that's with engineers, at least you have a good, rapport with them, right? So you gotta be nice to everybody as well too, right? I'm gonna ask you because you have at least the opinions of like, you've been through all this, but keeping a good rapport with everybody, I'm sure is super important in any kind of business or.
Yes, of course. But on the other side, if you messed up with some important person, you can always ask for a second chance to make it clear.
Rebuild the bridge.
Yeah, rebuild it. It's gonna take time, might be, but it definitely worth to try it. Definitely try it.
I think the worst they'll say is no. It's not like it's gonna tear down anything. Like you can try as hard as you can to at least rebuild, like you said, the bridges and see where that kind of gets you, and then from there, you're kind of good. I think after that,
But it's very hard to come out of your comfort zone. But if you want to be grow and be success, you have to always come out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. I think that's good too. That's also what we were talking about, that, we don't get to do many presentations as much until kind of the end of our degree. And I think that like being able to speak to people, being able to, if your strengths, but your weaknesses, work on the weaknesses and kind of, force yourself to go out of your comfort zones. If you don't like to talk to people, go talk to people. If you don't like to do certain things, try at least a little bit to do that a bit more. So good advice. Again, you have really great advice today, and I think it's really helpful for whoever's listening, whoever is, a young student or a potential, young entrepreneur. Like we were saying, if you have any doubts about stuff, like you can get it done if you just have all the effort. You put all the effort that you need to into it. I think you could be just as successful. So yeah.
What advice would you give to young women in STEM specifically?
I did. Bunch of them. Find your why, your inner why, and work for what you're passionate for it, definitely. Take care of yourself and be kind with yourself. You need to know yourself, be kind with yourself. And even if you find some weakness, or ask for help. Always ask for help, because lots of people are shy to ask for help. And don't read any news. There is no good news. It's always bad news. And detoxify yourself from all social media.
Yeah, it's hard when you're young and it's all your whole life is on social media. But you're right, it's so toxic.
Yeah,
so
it
toxic.
is. It is toxic. Just a little bit. Just sometimes a little bit is okay.
She's like, no, don't do it.
I had a really bad experience on September and October. It was like, okay, I'm done with. And I only post my daily, like my diary. It was my diary that I put only one picture per my diary, and I write some things like from my sense of humor. And then something's really bad happens, like, okay, I'm done with social media. And I'm really happy because I have a more peace of mind and calmness. And
do you think it's like built your confidence?
No, not relevant to my confidence. Believe me, it was in my genome. No, but mental health.
Mental health
is something that every single people, whether male or female, doesn't matter, need to take care of your mental health. And sometimes be alone and check yourself that, are you okay? Are you happy? Do you need any help? Do you need any, university have a free consultations if you are suffering from anything. Even if you are not happy with yourself and you don't have any other physical or mental disease, go and talk with one consultation, and makes you feel much more better.
Yeah, this is really helpful and great advice. Thank you for being on the Iron Ring with us. It was really awesome.
Yes.
And thank you to our viewers for tuning in. You can watch more episodes on the Iron Ring at Women in Engineering. And lastly, thank you to Fourth Space for letting us record here.